Welcome back, everyone. This is the Custom Built and Screwed podcast. My name is Erik, and if learning about what is currently influencing housing affordability, construction costs, or delayed timelines, then you are in the right place. And I reserve the right to talk about issues and items going on in the world that I find interesting or annoying. This week, we are going to talk about the mass prezoning in the city of Vancouver that's just been approved, touch back on the DNV Demolition Bylaw that we talked about last week and just kind of get the aftermath of that. And then lastly, my ongoing coverage of the North Shore Wastewater Treatment Plant boondoggle. All right, let's dive in. Tonight, we're going to test the city's new promise of faster, simpler, and predictable. Vancouver has done a mass prezoning, which basically says no rezoning hearing, straight to development permit, boom. Now, is that going to be a year saved or a new kind of bureaucracy? And what's going to be supporting all of this new density with respect to hydro, water, and sewer? Are we really ready for this increased density? All right, let's dive in. So, what has just passed? Council approved literally just yesterday that there will be standardized apartment zones, R3, R4, and R5. So R3 is low rise, R4 is mid rise, and R5 is high rise. And this is going to be for parts of the Broadway and Cambie corridors. The change was pitched to make approvals faster, simpler, and more predictable. By the end of this podcast, I am going to prove that that is a absolute crock, and that is absolutely not going to happen. The premise of this, and I mean, it is a step in the right direction. I shouldn't be such a Debbie Downer. This is absolutely a step in the right direction. We get to, or developers rather, not we, it's not what I do. They get to skip rezoning and go straight into DP. So eligible projects will be able to proceed directly into the development permit stage, which will cut approximately 12 months from the approval process, according to the city staff. The summary that Global News came up with this is that it's going to allow developers to skip rezoning red tape and head straight to the development permit process. If you've been around here long enough, you'll know that I freaking hate red tape, and anything that can be done to reduce red tape, I'm all for. There's a lot more to this story than meets the eye, so let's keep digging in. The headlines, just some notable quotes, if we will. Mayor Ken Sim said, "Today's approval is a major step forward in delivering the homes Vancouverites need faster." I'd agree with that. The city staff and the city are saying we're going to cut approximately 12 months, which I already said. And there is still an opportunity for public comment at the development permit stage of things, which I think makes sense, right? I mean, there's still opportunity for public comment. We're just not waiting for an entire year to rezone the property. So, I mean, I think this is absolutely a step in the right direction with respect to that. Now, City Hall Watch critiques it as saying entitlements without community benefits. And so what they're trying to say with that is now developers can buy land in these corridors and they can just build what they want to build and not have to do any community amenity contributions or CACs or things of that nature. Guaranteed that that is not likely to be the case. The city always gets their pound of flesh. Always. Somebody that spoke out at the meeting said it's going to create a land rush in these areas. It's going to fuel speculation, and that they're opposed to the continuation of public hearings. Well, I mean, fair enough. But you know what? Unfortunately, like, if we're going to change where we live and how we live, there's got to be some streamlining. And if there is one thing I have learned in my 49 years on this planet, is that rule by committee is painfully slow. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't seek to get other people's input and bring all of those perspectives and thoughts together. But if you are looking to have a committee make a decision, it takes forever. At least that's my experience. What's been yours? All right, the next group of people that have some issues with this are the Vancouver Tenants Union. They feel like rezoning hearings are mere performances of democratic process, and the change that has been approved is going to accelerate the displacement of tenants. Well, it might do that, but it's also going to create more homes, which theoretically should reduce the cost of rent. And there's no shortage of really run down, crappy apartment buildings and apartments in Vancouver. So I don't think anybody is going to complain about having some up-to-date and safer units in which people can live. Okay, so what is actually in the new zone? So some useful specifics for you. So R3, which is low rise, is going to be generally up to 6 stories and then potentially up to 8 stories for 100% social housing or rental with 20% BMR. The max height of the R3 area is going to be 27.5 meters. R4 is going to be approximately 12 stories and a maximum of 47 meters in building height. And R5 will be 15 to 22 stories with a maximum height of 84 meters. And the high rise will be tied to affordability requirements. So most new projects will need to deliver social housing, below market rentals, or secured rentals. And that's going to vary by subzone and by site. The design rules will be standardized. So there's going to be new design and developmental guidelines that will consolidate the rules and allow limited variances, which will balance parkade efficiency and environmental performance. Public benefits still apply, but differently. Projects remain subject to citywide DCL plus utilities DCL. And staff note, expanded charter authorities to secure amenities, utilities, land via conditions, and a broader public benefits review is underway. There's a tenant relocation plan, TRP, time-limited bridge. So for the approximate 40 in-stream rezonings with TRPs, applicants who switch to the development permit under new zoning within 1 year of today, or yesterday, I guess, can keep the original TRP to avoid having to reprocess that. So that's a good thing. The city is promising that existing tenants will be able to return at similar rents after redevelopment under the TRP. The province's Residential Tenancy Act still applies. I mean, yay. The tenants were displaced for 2 years. I don't thinking more like a tenant and less like a developer right now. Okay, yay, I get to move back into where I used to be. But, what's it going to take to build one of these things? 2 years, 3 years? I don't think I'm going to be too keen to move. Again, moving sucks. At least I think it does. Critics worry that the loss of the rezoning public hearings, there'll be a loss of transparency, and there'll be potential demo evictions for older rental stock. So, reduce visibility when approvals move to development permit. So, I don't know. I mean, I get it, but you know what? You can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs, I guess, right? Let's talk about density. Let's just, I feel like I'm banging the same flippin' drum over and over and over again. And it feels like nobody out there is listening. I mean, to be honest, I feel like a lot of my colleagues in this industry aren't listening. They're just kind of blindly following whatever the government says without taking a moment to really step back and critically think, with this increased density, what is a game plan to increase the size of the sewer pipes underneath the street? Because there is a 0% chance that those suckers are big enough to handle this many more new people. So once we've got the pipe bigger underneath the street, where is that pipe going to go? And what is going to be treating the product that is coming out the other end of that pipe? I mean, it is a really borderline idiotic thing to say, but I can't really think of another way to say it better. Where does the poop go? I mean, that has to be the question. Where does it go? Now, let's assume that we can figure out where the poop goes and how it's going to be treated before it gets put out into the ocean or into our rivers. Let's assume that we can get that job done, because it is a solvable problem. I'll be the first to admit that. Where do we get the water from? I haven't been hearing jack diddly from the federal or provincial governments, and certainly not from Metro Vancouver, about increased water storage, right? I haven't heard of any new water reservoir proposals or anything like that, so that all of us have drinking water here on the Lower Mainland during the summer. The more people that we have in the city, the more people will need to drink water. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, right? So we keep adding people. We keep increasing density. We keep not upgrading and updating our infrastructure. And I am telling you, people, if you don't start talking about this stuff with your friends and with anybody that will listen, this is where the straw will land on that camel's back and break it. All right. Now, we can increase the size of the sewer pipes. We can increase the size of the water pipes underneath the road too, right? I mean, the water's got to come from somewhere. Chances are that the water mains will need to be upgraded to accommodate, again, all of these more bathrooms, kitchens. The city of Vancouver has been very, very verbal and about going everything electric. They have been making it almost impossible for homeowners and certainly for developers to install anything that is powered by natural gas. Where is the power going to come to heat and or cool all of these new dwelling units that are going to be proposed, right? We already have all of these 3-plexes, 4-plexes, 5-plexes in the city of Vancouver that are sitting there. They're like literally built. Hydro is still figuring out, the engineers at Hydro, and this is not me throwing shade at them, by the way, not for a second. So don't do that to me. I'm throwing shade at the city of Vancouver and their policies mandating that everybody has to go to electric. Hydro engineers are now trying to figure out where are they going to get the power from. There's only so many wires in the air or underground. There's only so much generation we have in BC. And I know for a fact, because I have friends that work at Hydro, but nobody wants to go public and talk about it. But the fact that, like, if everything were to go electric in BC, we would need the power of 2 or 3 more Site C dams in order to be able to provide enough juice for all of this electric demand. It's ridiculous. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have it. We have so much natural gas. Can we please just look at making our natural gas appliances a little bit more energy efficient time after time after time, and just be smart about how we use the resources that we already have available to us? For the love of everything, holy people, like, we've got to get away from like this whole fear of using natural gas to heat to heat our homes and our hot water. It's just not necessary. It really isn't. Of course, I did a little bit of research before I went into this whole diatribe here to see, was anybody talking about these things at the council meeting? And of course, the answer is no. And staff is always like, oh, well, this will get figured out, that'll get figured out. It's the cart before the horse and the horse before the cart. It's we need infrastructure. And I mean, never mind, right? Never mind like all of these kind of like just assume kind of sort of necessities, like basic human requirements, right? Sanitary living conditions, like potable drinking water. And I mean, I guess we're a little bit spoiled in North America by being able to flip a switch and turn on the lights. So, I mean, fair enough. And or having air conditioning. So, okay, fine. Right. But nobody is ever talking about where are the additional hospital beds coming from? Where are the additional doctors coming from? Like, where is everything else that supports this population growth coming from? Like, we need some freaking leadership at the provincial and federal levels to lead us and to make some hard choices and hard decisions and to set some standards for which provincial and local governments need to be held accountable to. It just has to happen. Like, if we have all of these people, right? Like, are we going to have more swimming lanes? Are we going to have more basketball gyms? Are we going to have more hockey rinks? Are we going to have more soccer fields? Are we going to have more parkland and playgrounds for the kids to play on? Where the hell is all of this stuff coming from, people? Right? Like, unless you want to live someplace where we're just constantly packed, one on top of each other, like freaking sardines. I feel so strongly about this. Like, we really, really, really need to come together and demand that, these things be accounted for, planned for, and thought about. And the response that, oh, there is a plan,
That is not even remotely even close to sufficient. What the F is the actual plan? I don't need every detail, but give me something. Give me some detail. Let me know that you're actually thinking about it and that there is a plan and, a little bit. I don't need to have every single line item of the project plan or of the plan. I just need to have like the high level. This is what we're going for. It's ridiculous. It is ludicrous, ridiculous, and I really, really hope that we start thinking more and more and more about infrastructure, because it just seems it is an inconvenient truth. It is an annoying something that our government and our politicians need to deal with, but they don't want to, because it doesn't win votes, right? It just doesn't. So anyways, that's enough about that. Okay, so let's slide along and just do a brief recap on that DNV Demolition Bylaw update that we talked about last week. The North Shore News reported on it and, kind of said that the bylaw is expanding, trying to suggest that the salvage material is useful. I mean, at least they did quote Mayor Little in his defense of not moving forward with this thing, because the amount of additional headache and red tape that is incrementally now being thrust upon everybody, it has such a minimal impact on what's actually going to the landfill. It just drives me crazy when we keep increasing the rules and increasing the complexity, increasing the number of hoops that we need to jump through. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Now, one thing that I want to report and bring back to you on today is I did a little bit more research on this, and the DNV's own staff in 2022 reported that there was concerns about there being limited service providers for who does this kind of hand demolition work, and that at that time in 2022 that it would add permit processing time and complexity. Well, thank you, staff. So, council, I know you're trying to get these like warm, fuzzy climate emergency votes. And trust me, I am not here trying to suggest that we don't need to take care of the world in which we live. That is the exact opposite of what I stand for, 100%. That said, we also need to not make life more complicated for people like me. I just want to build homes. I don't want to do paperwork. Like, it really, like that, at the end of the day, that's what my team and I are excited to do. We want to get out there. We want to talk with our clients. We want to work with our designers, and we want to create really cool spaces, really beautiful homes. We want to change how people live, and we want to improve their lives. We don't want to be spending hours, weeks, months on paperwork. We just don't. The last thing that we have to talk about is the North Shore wastewater treatment plant boondoggle. Now, honestly, I don't have anything additional to report this week. I just want to always talk about it and bring it up again, because if we don't keep talking about it, if we don't keep it in the front of our minds, it will just kind of slide underneath the radar and stop being a thing that we're talking about when we're having dinner with friends. We need some freaking accountability. We need some jobs to be lost at Metro Vancouver, right? People need to lose their jobs for this absolute show of a project. It is really, really plain and simple. There is no excuse. I am telling you right here and now, if that sort of thing happened to me, or if my company did something like that to one of our clients, they would send us packing as quickly as humanly possible, and they would for sure be leaving us a 1-star Google review. It is ludicrous, of the highest frickin' order. We need an independent investigation today, not in 2027. And you know what? Whatever that investigation finds, it can get used in the trial in 2027. And if it turns out that the government screwed everything up and Aconia is totally in the right, so be it. Let's reduce how much government money and further waste we're spending on legal fees defending an indefensible position of complete incompetence at the Metro Vancouver level. It's incompetence. It's nothing more, nothing less. And we need to stop sugarcoating this stuff
and trying to use soft, safe words to describe what is and can only be described as sheer incompetence. Let's keep the conversation going and keep talking about this stuff. We have to. We absolutely have to. It is so, so, so important, because these are the sorts of things that, if allowed to just kind of stand by, then we're setting the precedent for the next major project where it's like, oh, it's fine. Oh, it's fine. We need to stop the bleeding. And yes, fine. You know what? Over the last 10 years, a lot of things have been let slide. We need to stop that, right? We need to stop that. As a community and as a country, we need to absolutely hold our leaders to account and make sure that our hard-earned tax dollars are being spent with a high level of intelligence and with the mindset of maximizing value as much as humanly possible. That's my take. I'd love to hear what yours is. I'm happy to argue with you in the comments below. Let me know what you think. If you find this content interesting, informative, I'd sure appreciate it if you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Leave me a comment below. I'll respond. I'd love to chat with you. In the meantime, I really appreciate you taking the time to get to this point in the video. Thank you so much for watching. Stay awesome. Catch you on the next one. Bye now.